There was another man I talked to in Southern California. He and his brother had stepped forward together. And here it was, 50 years later, and he said, "We have never told our children, we have never told our grandchildren what we went through, because we aren't dead yet, so we aren't safe yet." Okay, so that gives you a sense of some of the history behind this. But as I said, to me, my books are really about relationships and emotions. Snowflower and the Secret Fan, best friends for life. Peony and Love, the three sister wives, but also the relationship between Peony and her mother and her grandmother. Well, now, sisters. The sibling relationship is typically the longest one we'll have in our lifetimes. Your sister is the person who has known you your whole life. Are you two sisters? Okay. Yeah, your sister is a person who has known you your whole life, who should stand by you and support you and love you no matter what. And yet it's also your sister who knows exactly where to drive a knife to hurt you the most. Now, I am a sister myself. I have spent most of my life actually thinking of myself as an only child. I am the only child of my mother and father, but I also have a former stepsister who I've now known for 50 years. I have a half-sister that's my mother's daughter and a half-sister that's my father's daughter. You know how in families there are certain things that we all sort of agree on, these labels that get made. There is the tall one and the short one, the skinny one and the one we say, oh, she's short-waisted. The smart one and the one we say, oh, she's so smart, meaning she doesn't know how to do long division. That would have been me in our family. The athletic one, we didn't have one of those, but the athletic one, the couch potato, the greedy one, the generous one, the troublemaker, the peacemaker, mom's favorite, dad's favorite. Now, some of these things are true, but a lot of it is just kind of made up. You know, we just kind of make it up and we all go along with it. Well, so I've been, working on this book for a couple of years, and I go do a lot of events like this, and I also join a lot of book clubs by speakerphone. And often, somebody would say, what are you working on? And I'd say, oh, a book about sisters. Or they would say, do you have a question you want to ask us? And I'd say, well, yes, as a matter of fact, I do. So I'd really been thinking a lot about sisters. Is there something your sister could do that would cause an irrevocable break? Everyone always had the exact same answer. Yes, if she slept with my husband. But here's the thing. After something like this, people would come through the line and they'd lean in and they'd say, well, I didn't want to say it in front of everyone, but let me tell you what my sister did. Or with these book clubs by speakerphone, a couple days later, I'd get an email and I'd say, I didn't want to say this in front of all my girlfriends, but let me tell you what my sister did. Well, they do the most unbelievably terrible things. Sleeping with your sister, husband, that is the least of it. Really, the least of it. And so, I talked to women who said, I haven't talked to my sister in 2 years. I haven't talked to her in 10 years. One woman said, I haven't talked to my sister in 40 years. And I thought, and I said to her, I said, well, you don't even really have to consider her your sister anymore, do you? You're sort of like done with her. And she said, oh, no, because, sisters are for life. And so this sort of made me think about something else. And I started asking people this question: is there a difference between actual sisters and those women who are just like sisters? What I would call sisters of the heart, the people that we choose and bring into our hearts, the people who choose us and bring us into their hearts. Now, so, I've been doing this now for 6.5 weeks, and people will come through the line, you'll see this later, and I'll say, oh, do you have a sister? And people say, yeah. Some say, yes, I do. And I'll say, would you like me to make this out to the two of you? No, that's okay. They'll come through with a stack of books. I'm getting one for each of my sisters But not Margie. We're not talking to Margie right now. So, sisters. So, wait, I lost my piece. Okay, this is very important. Thank you. And this final piece is very important. This was given to me by my sister, Clara, after the very first book event. And I've been carrying it around. It's lost its stickum. But on the very first event, people started going up to Clara and saying, well, which one are you, Pearl or May? Well, I just want you all to know, because Clara told me to say this, none of us are in this book. It's not Clara or Lisa or Ariana or Catherine, the stepsister. Now, really, we really are not, because, you know, we're just not. We didn't live in Shanghai in the 30s or any of it, you know, we just aren't. But Clara is one of 5 people who reads my manuscripts. And when she gave it back to me, you know, she always writes these little notes in the margins. When she sent it back to me, there were several places where she wrote things like, oh, way to get back at Catherine. So I guess, you know, more of our life snuck in there than I thought. All right, so that gives you a sense of the relationships, and then finally these emotions. I was about a third of the way into writing the book when I was a live auction item for a library fundraiser in Fairfield, California. In Fairfield, if you've never heard of it, it's the home of the Jelly Belly Jelly Bean. And so here was the item. They would buy me. They would, on their own dollar, fly to Los Angeles, where then I would take them out for dim sum lunch, give them signed copies of my books, and then take them on a tour of Los Angeles Chinatown. I don't know about you guys, but, you know, how many things like that have you been for your kids' school or your church, and you know, you're like a good sport and you buy the auction item, but then you never use it? So I thought, well, they're never going to come. You know, I was just thinking, they're never going to come, but of course they did. And so they flew down, and I took them out for dim sum. I gave them signed copies of the book, and then we started this tour. And our first stop was to what we call the second family store. My great-grandfather had 4 wives, 2 families. The first family was Fong Si and Tycee Pruitt, a Caucasian woman. That's the family I'm descended from, in case you couldn't figure that out. Okay. When he was in his 60s, he went on a buying trip to China, and he bought up a bunch of stuff, including a new bride, 16 years old. And he brought her back to Los Angeles, and they went on, he was in his 60s, she was 16, to have another 7 children. Wow. The last was born when he was in his 90s. Not too many men here tonight, but this should give you something to aspire to. So that's the second family. So our first stop was to the second family store, and that store has long been run by the eldest son in that family, and he had died about 3 months earlier, and now his youngest brother is running the store, and he's 78. And I had this like little thought that crossed my mind of, you know, this could be gone in 5 years. And then we walked down Chungking Road to Fong's gift shop. Fong's gift shop was the one that was started by my great-great-uncle, the one who took his family back to China and got them all wives. And that store had long been run by the youngest son in that family, and he died about 1.5 years earlier, and now his oldest brother is running the store. He's 98. And I thought, well, for sure, this is going to be gone in 5 years. And in fact, while I've been on tour, he's been in the hospital. So, yeah, he's, you know, 98, not going to be around much longer. So for sure, this is going to be gone. Then we all piled in our cars, and we drove out to Pasadena, where the first family store is. This is the store that used to be in that old China City building,